Hollywood sold a spotless dream, but its golden age ran on secrets. Behind tuxedo smiles and studio-made marriages, some icons loved in the shadows, guarded by contracts, fixers, and fear. In this video, we slip past the velvet rope to revisit 10 legends who, by choice or coercion, kept their queer truths off camera until the day they died. Watch, debate, and ask, how would history look if they'd been free? Drop your city and hit subscribe. 1. Cary Grant. He was the epitome of debonair charm, but off-screen, Cary Grant lived a life no studio would have dared to script. To the public, Cary was Hollywood elegance made flesh. A tuxedo fit him as naturally as sunlight on the ocean, and every woman on screen melted in his arms. He made danger look dashing and romance look effortless. But when the camera stopped, a very different story played out, one behind closed doors and drawn curtains. In the early 1930s, Cary shared a Malibu beach house with fellow matinee idol Randolph Scott. The press gleefully nicknamed it Bachelor Hall, publishing sunny photos of the two handsome actors grilling steaks and lounging poolside in matching bathrobes. To most, it looked like innocent male camaraderie. But studio executives saw a ticking time bomb. They swiftly arranged publicity dates with starlets and nudged Grant into high-profile marriages, quick weddings followed by quicker divorces, all to keep suspicions at bay. Still, whispers persisted. Neighbors noticed late-night lights burning in that Malibu house long after Cary supposedly moved out. A Paramount photographer confessed that candid shots of Cary and Randolph laughing together in a way no headline could safely explain mysteriously vanished after a producer intervened. The studio's message was clear. Cary Grant must be seen only with beautiful women on his arm, never with the one man who knew him best. There were also sudden disappearances. During the filming of To Catch a Thief in 1954, Cary slipped away for 3 days. The official excuse was illness, but one crew member swore he saw Grant board a private plane to Mexico, accompanied by an unidentified young man, and returned before dawn as if nothing had happened. Through it all, Cary kept his polished image intact, giving the world his debonair smile while keeping his truest joys hidden. It was his greatest performance, one he maintained until his dying day. Did Cary Grant's hidden reality surprise you? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories from Hollywood's golden age. 2. Paul Newman. He had the dazzling blue eyes and easy grin of Hollywood's golden boy, a man who seemed to live a charmed all-American life. On screen, Paul Newman was the unshakable hero and charismatic heartthrob every woman adored. Yet behind that flawless facade lay a guarded heart and a truth even his most devoted fans never suspected. In the mid-1950s, while auditioning for East of Eden, Paul bonded with a brooding young actor named James Dean in ways neither could openly acknowledge. They took long walks off-set and lingered in empty dressing rooms after hours. Rumors swirled of something deeper between the two rising stars. But if a flame sparked, it was cruelly snuffed out that September when James Dean's life ended in a tragic car crash. Paul was left with grief and a secret heartbreak he could never publicly mourn. As Newman's fame grew, morality clauses crept into his contracts, warning him to avoid excessive friendships with male co-stars. But Paul's heart followed its own script. In the late 1960s, his close bond with golden boy Robert Redford set tongues wagging. Officially, they were just best buddies blowing off steam. Unofficially, whispers followed them up to a secluded mountain cabin at Sundance, where they often escaped together, far from prying eyes. By the 1980s, decades of pretending wore heavy on Paul. In 1985, moved by his friend Rock Hudson's AIDS tragedy, he quietly arranged a television interview to finally speak his truth. At the 11th hour, studio lawyers swooped in, wielding old morality clauses to shut it down. Once again, Newman's personal revelation was smothered by Hollywood's heavy hand. When Paul Newman died in 2008, he was eulogized as the devoted husband and beloved legend the world knew. But while sorting through his effects, family members discovered a small steel box of letters, sealed and signed only with initials, unsent love letters from long ago. He had kept those mementos of forbidden love locked away right to the end. Paul Newman left this world as he had lived in it, with his deepest truths tucked just out of sight. Did you learn something new about Paul Newman's life? Which part of his secret story surprised you most? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe to discover more stories that challenge Hollywood's glittering myths. 3. Greta Garbo. She was more than a movie star. Greta Garbo was an enigma. On screen, the Swedish-born beauty could play a queen or a pauper with the same mesmerizing allure. Off-screen, she spoke little and guarded her privacy obsessively. "I want to be alone," she famously declared, a line that would come to define her legend. In truth, Garbo didn't want isolation so much as freedom to live on her own terms, far from Hollywood's spotlight, and to love whom she chose away from prying eyes. By the mid-1930s, Garbo's face was on every magazine cover. Yet the woman behind those eyes lived in quiet defiance of Tinseltown's expectations. She shunned Hollywood's party scene, preferring solitude and the company of a chosen few. One of these close friends was playwright Mercedes D'Acosta, infamous for her affairs with other leading ladies. Garbo and Mercedes traveled abroad together, exchanged stacks of heartfelt letters, and spent weeks where no paparazzi could find them. In one letter to Mercedes, Garbo admitted, "We are alike, you and I. The world would not understand." Those words, never meant for public eyes, remained locked away in a private collection, a secret confession between two souls. Garbo's distaste for publicity became the stuff of legend. She turned down Oscars and tossed aside interview requests without a second thought. But those who worked with her caught telling glimpses of the woman behind the veil, a lingering, tender touch with a female co-star during a rehearsal, or a soulful gaze directed just off-camera at someone only she could see. A cameraman on the set of Queen Christina swore that Garbo's dreamy, love-struck look in one scene was actually aimed at a woman standing behind the lights. Then, at the height of her fame in 1941, Greta Garbo walked away from Hollywood forever. At 36, without fanfare or farewell, she retired and sailed back to Europe as the world wondered why. She spent her later decades living quietly in New York, occasionally seen strolling at dusk with a close lady companion. When Garbo died in 1990, among her personal effects was a bundle of sealed letters marked private. An anonymous bidder bought them at auction, and their secrets remain a mystery to this day. To the world, Greta Garbo will always be the aloof icon who wanted to be alone. But those who caught her unguarded moments knew a different Garbo, a woman who loved deeply in the shadows and carried those secrets with her to the very end. Does Greta Garbo's secret life change how you see this Hollywood legend? Drop a comment with your thoughts and subscribe for more intriguing tales of Hollywood's hidden truths. 4. Burt Lancaster. He was Hollywood's towering masculine ideal, a strapping ex-acrobat with a soldier's posture and a smile that could stop hearts. On screen, Burt Lancaster was the fearless hero every man envied and every woman desired. Off-screen, whispers trailed him like a shadow. According to studio gossip, Burt kept a very private third dressing room on the Paramount lot. a door that stayed locked to all but a select few. Some say that behind that heavy door, Lancaster lived out a secret chapter of his life safely hidden from the cameras. In 1950s Hollywood, image was everything, and the studios controlled more than just an actor's film roles. Contracts dictated conduct, even off-set, and a star of Lancaster's stature was expected to uphold the fantasy of the red-blooded American male. Burt played the role dutifully at premieres and publicity shoots, a beautiful starlet often on his arm. But in the quiet hours when the spotlights dimmed, he sought the companionship he truly craved. A fellow actor here, a stagehand there, always after hours, always under a strict code of silence. One former Paramount employee recalled that Burt would linger long after filming wrapped, slipping into that infamous third dressing room with a special guest once everyone else had gone home. Officially, it was explained as late-night script rehearsals or costume fittings. In reality, it was Lancaster seizing a few precious moments to be himself. Studio security was even instructed to steer nosy reporters away whenever Burt's dressing room light burned past midnight. When he died in 1994 at age 80, the world remembered Burt Lancaster as one of Hollywood's great leading men. He made sure the world remembered nothing more. The secrets kept safe in that locked dressing room went with him, sealed forever by his silence. His truth, guarded for a lifetime, followed him to the grave. Does Burt Lancaster's hidden story surprise you, given his macho image? Tell us in the comments, and remember to subscribe for more bold Hollywood revelations. 5. Montgomery Clift. He was the very picture of gentle masculinity on screen. Sensitive, brooding, and heartbreakingly handsome. But behind those famous eyes, Montgomery Clift carried a secret burden that even his most ardent fans never knew. When Monty arrived in Hollywood in the late 1940s, insiders already whispered about the handsome young actor's private world. Those who knew him from Broadway understood that the soulful, soft-spoken Clift loved in ways 1950s society would not accept. Hollywood's rule was simple: be whatever you want, as long as the press doesn't see it. Monty played along as the eligible bachelor, yet there were moments when the facade slipped. Colleagues would later recall how he seemed to gravitate towards certain male friends on set, sharing hush jokes in corners, and disappearing during lunch breaks. Encounters politely ignored by those who valued their careers. Clift's closest companion was an actor named Kevin McCarthy, officially just a dear friend and former roommate, but in truth the other half of Monty's hidden life. They coordinated their lives carefully, arriving at parties separately, and never overtly appearing as a pair. Elizabeth Taylor, Monty's dearest friend, also knew his truth and fiercely protected him. In 1956, after Monty crashed his car leaving a party at her home, it was Liz who pulled him bloodied from the wreckage and shielded him from prying eyes. The studio blamed exhaustion for the accident, but friends whispered that Monty had been trying to flee a photographer who caught an intimate moment by Liz's pool. The incriminating negatives mysteriously disappeared. Some say Miss Taylor herself destroyed them to save her friend. The car crash left Monty scarred inside and out. He drifted into isolation and addiction, and his once bright spark dimmed as he receded from the spotlight. He continued acting brilliantly, but those who loved him saw a sadness behind his smile that never quite lifted. On July 22, 1966, Montgomery Clift died at just 45 years old, officially of a heart attack. A nurse who cared for him in his final hours later revealed a poignant detail. The night before his death, Monty sat alone watching one of his old films, The Misfits, while clutching a worn envelope to his chest. By morning he was gone, the mysterious letter still by his side. She noticed a faint, peaceful smile on his face, as if whatever words were in that letter had given him comfort at the very end. Montgomery Clift's life was a tapestry of talent and tragedy, woven with a secret he was never allowed to share with the world. He kept that secret close until his final breath, a silent defiance of a Hollywood that broke his heart. Does Monty Clift's tragic secret move you? What part of his story struck you the most? Tell us in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that boldly challenge Hollywood's past. 6. Barbara Stanwyck. She was hailed as a fiercely independent woman. Barbara Stanwyck projected an image of strength and self-reliance that few could question. On screen, she could be the hard-boiled femme fatale, or the wholesome wife with equal conviction, and off-screen, she lived by a simple rule: never give the public more than what they paid for. Interviews were rare and carefully controlled. Gossip columnists knew better than to pry into Miss Stanwyck's private affairs. To the world, she was the untouchable Missy, a no-nonsense star who didn't need anyone. But the truth, as always, was more complex. Throughout the 1930s and 40s, insiders quietly linked Stanwyck to various women, from a celebrated Broadway co-star she vacationed with in Europe, to a trusted female costume designer on her film sets. None of it ever reached the papers. Studio fixers made sure of that. One photographer claimed he once snapped a candid of Barbara gently holding another woman's hand during a picnic in Griffith Park, but the negative was promptly destroyed before sunset. To further silence the whispers, Stanwyck entered a high-profile marriage with heartthrob actor Robert Taylor in 1939. To the public, they were a picture-perfect Hollywood couple, glamorous, talented, and madly in love. In reality, many believed their union was a lavender marriage, mutually beneficial for two stars under pressure to appear straight. They fulfilled the public's romantic expectations on magazine covers and red carpets, then largely led separate private lives. When they quietly divorced in 1951, Taylor never uttered a bad word about Barbara. Perhaps each was grateful to the other for keeping their deepest secrets. By the 1960s, Stanwyck withdrew from Hollywood's social world to a secluded ranch in California's San Fernando Valley. Observers noted she was often accompanied by a younger woman initially introduced as her housekeeper, Miss Anderson. This poised companion soon appeared by Barbara's side everywhere, grooming horses on the ranch, flying with her to New York, even sitting next to her at intimate dinner parties. Stanwyck never commented on the true nature of their relationship, but she didn't need to. In private circles, it was understood Miss Anderson was the quiet love of Barbara's life. When Barbara Stanwyck passed away in 1990 at age 82, the public remembered a Hollywood legend of unparalleled toughness and independence. But in her will, she left a generous portion of her estate to her longtime housekeeper, along with a handwritten note that simply read, "You were the reason I always came home." In that tender last message, the world caught a glimpse of the real Barbara, a woman who loved deeply and privately, defying an industry that would never have accepted her real love story. Were you surprised to learn about Barbara Stanwyck's hidden life? Which detail astonished you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more revelations from Hollywood's secret history. 7. Anthony Perkins. He was the man who terrified audiences as Norman Bates. Yet in reality, Anthony Perkins was a gentle, introspective soul carrying a heavy secret. In 1950s Hollywood, young Tony Perkins had the boy-next-door looks that studios loved, and they carefully molded his public image as an eligible bachelor. He dutifully escorted starlets to premieres and smiled for publicity cameras. but his heart was never in it. Behind closed doors, Perkins fell deeply in love with fellow actor Tab Hunter, another rising matinee idol. For a few golden years, the two young men nurtured a quiet romance, stealing moments together under the guise of double dates and friendly beach parties. But when a gossip rag got wind of Tab's private life in 1959, the studio system intervened. The relationship was swiftly and cruelly cut off to protect both actors' careers, leaving Tony with a broken heart and a mandate to hide his true self. Perkins pressed on, determined to keep acting and keep his truth submerged. He even entered a conventional marriage in the 1970s and became a father. Friends say he genuinely loved his wife and children, yet a part of him remained distant, a corner of his soul walled off from everyone. By the late 1980s, as illness overtook him, Tony still kept up the facade. In his final public statement just weeks before his 1992 death, he thanked fans for a lifetime of support and spoke of hope and love. Not once did he mention the disease ravaging him or the people who quietly meant the world to him. Only after his passing did a poignant clue emerge. A hospital nurse revealed that in Tony's bedside drawer lay a folded sheet of music with a personal note scrawled across the top. "For the one who kept me alive between the lines." It was signed with his initials. Those close to Perkins believed this was his secret farewell to a lover who had given him strength through music and memory. Perhaps Tab, perhaps someone we will never know. The note was never made public, but it spoke volumes about the life Anthony Perkins lived in the shadows. Anthony Perkins spent his life playing roles both on and off camera. He died as he lived, behind a courteous mask, never publicly revealing the love that dared not speak its name. Did you learn something new about Anthony Perkins? Which part of his story surprised you most? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more hidden Hollywood stories. 10 stars, 10 guarded lives, each carried the burden of a secret love in an era that demanded silence. They rode the heights of fame by day and retreated into shadows by night, not because they were ashamed, but because the world left them no choice. These legends showed courage in the only way they could, by living and loving as their hearts dictated, even if it had to remain behind closed doors. As we reflect on their stories, we challenge the notion of the perfect Hollywood fantasy. How many others live behind that glamorous mask, hiding their truth to the grave? And how much brighter might their stars have shone if they'd been free to be themselves?